plagued by vandalism and theft for many years. Let's take you there live.
Mr. David, present here, and the entire management of PRASA in the Western Cape, and all the staff members of PRASA present and management with us here, and members of the DOT, Department of Transport, staff members who are here with us here today. In this oversight on rail infrastructure upgrades and readiness to resume commuter rail services in the Western Cape, this morning I invited Judge Dennis Davis, following my interview with him last year, to give him a sense of progress made in rehabilitating the rail infrastructure and ensuring readiness for the resumption of commuter rail services in different corridors. He was gracious enough to accept my invitation, and he joined me on the train ride and infrastructure inspections this morning. Since the declaration of the state of disaster and the restriction on travel, PRASA had to cease all commuter rail operations. Considering that PRASA operates an open network that is not adequately fenced, in the lines were exposed and became victim to wholesale theft and vandalism. Despite the easing of the travel restrictions, the vandalism forced Metrorail to stop operation on several lines, including the Northern Line, as critical infrastructure had either been stolen or vandalized. PRASA's Western Cape region operates a total of 121 stations up to Worcester in the north, Simonstown on the Southern Line, and Chris Onion Captain's Clip Station on the Central Line. Operations on all these lines and corridors are monitored from this state of the art rail management and traffic center, where we are right now. This center also monitors the infrastructure, including signaling, and is able to provide a bird's eye view of the entire commuter rail network in the province. The Northern Line corridor consists of 34 corridors, stations. The Southern Line, including the Cape Flat section, has 38 stations. The Central Line consists of 21 stations, and Ikapa area has 10 stations. All 38 stations on the Southern Line, which is where we started with Judge Dennis Davis and the colleagues here this morning, are in good operating condition, requiring minor maintenance work, as you will have seen this morning. However, there are two stations of great concern that will be upgraded as part of the National Station Improvement Program, and are both in the Cape Flats. These are Athlone and Maitland stations. The vast majority of stations on the Northern Line, where we come from before we arrived here, which is Tigerberg and the other area we went to, are in a fair condition, and this corridor had been a focus of PRASA Station Improvement Program. Out of 34 stations, 5 of these stations had suffered extreme vandalism and are in a bad state of repair. These are Paro, Fig Grove, Visante Kral, Foray, and Kulenhof. All 21 stations in the Central Line require extensive upgrade and have been prioritized as part of PRASA Central Line Presidential Project. The stations on the Central Line are at the different stages of upgrade as part of the National NSIP program, which commenced this financial year and due for completing in the first quarter of 2022-2023 financial year. PRASA had committed to complete upgrades in 39 stations in the current financial year. The Western Cape region is responsible for 5 of these stations. Significant progress had been registered in the upgrades as follows. Aikenfontein Station, improvements and upgrades have been completed at a cost of 11.1 million rand. Elsie's River Station, improvements and upgrades have been completed at the cost of 8.6 million rand. Tigerberg Station, improvements and upgrades, where we come from just now, are at 95% completion at the cost of 10.1 million rand. Vasco Station, which we came from also this morning, improvements and upgrades are at 95% completion at a cost of 12.3 million rand. Thornton Station, improvements and upgrades are at 85% completion at a cost of 10.5 million rand. Easterplaat Station, improvements and upgrades are at 70% completion at a cost of 9.4 million rand. These improvements and upgrades constitute improvement in security and security features, access and egress, and overall appearance of the station. Station lighting, passenger information, staff facilities, ticketing offices, passenger shelters, ablution facilities, paintwork, subway and pedestrian bridges, improvement, platform including tacked tiles, as you would have seen this morning. Work continues to restore commuter rail services in the province. To date, PRASA has restored services in 5 of the 7 corridors, namely the Southern Line on the 28th December 2021. We returned to service the retreat to Fishhook service after a 2 months shutdown as a result of vandalism. The Fishhook to Simonstown service was returned to service on the 5th of January 2021. The Northern Line, Cape Flats Line, Cape Town to Langa, Cape Town to Kraaifontein. The resumption of services on the Cape Town to Bellville and Cape Town via Pinelands line is scheduled for March 2022. The Bellville service will operate via the newly upgraded Northern Line stations. The Pinelands service will result in easier connection and access for the commuters traveling from Langa and surrounding areas to the Cape Flats and the Athlone line, as well as to the Southern Line that links from Pinelands to Retreat Station. The bigger work remains the recovery of the Central Line presidential project. We are currently in the midst of implementing phase 1 of the Central Line recovery to introduce the Langa to Cape Town service via Pinelands. This is to allow for relocation of illegal settlements on the rail tracks. The return to service of commuter rail services is within the context of the broader repositioning of commuter rail as the backbone of our public transport system. The white paper on national rail policy, which will be tabled before Cabinet in the coming weeks, firmly articulates structural and operational changes we will be introducing to achieve this. The rail policy will introduce radical measures to overhaul the country's rail system to make it competitive, efficient, safe, and reliable. This includes the introduction of private sector participation and concessions in both passenger and freight rail. I am satisfied that infrastructure upgrades are on track to salvage a dilapidated network that has been brought to its knees by criminal conduct. These upgrades will be reinforced by a security model that relies on tight collaboration with law enforcement authorities and intelligence services to ensure effective protection of these public assets. I have no doubt that we will meet the deadline to return the Central Line to full service by the end of July 2022, while we continue with the resignaling project. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. I think it's very important that we keep the public informed with all the work that we've been doing, and you have seen the work that we have done on the Northern Line with the station refurbishment. I think it's quite important that we keep the public up to date with the progress that PRASA is doing in the transport sector. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take some of your questions. If you can please raise your hand, state your name, surname, your organization, and your questions. We're going to first take 3 questions for the first round. Minister or whoever is responsible to answer will come to answer your questions, and then we'll take the next rounds. We've got a gentleman with a microphone there. If you can please raise your hands. I've seen 2 hands here at the front. Are there any other hands? If you can bring the microphone at the front. Please do state your name, surname, and the organization, the media house you are from.
Kaylin from Eyewitness News. Minister, just within the rail system in the Western Cape, what percentage of trains are running currently as of January 2022 in the Western
Sorry,
Cape?
come again, sorry. You are speaking fast.
Within the Western Cape's rail system, right? What is the percentage of trains that's running currently in the Western Cape? Is it at 50%? Is it at 60% and or so on? And then secondly, with regards to the new trains, how many trains do we have in operation currently in the Western Cape? And how many trains are expected to come online in the Western Cape? And then just with regards to safety on the new trains, how confident are you with regards to safety on the new people's trains? That's it for now.
I'm going to ask Walker to dive into your question, to answer those 3 questions because they are operational. Have you got the questions?
Yes, please.
You've got the 3 of them.
Percentage increase and the safety, and then I just need the other one.
How many trains are running?
Running now.
Are operational and all of those currently.
Thank you. Currently, we're running 35 train sets to operate 126 train trips on a daily basis. And out of that, before COVID, we were running 422 train trips. So you can make the maths in respect of what we have brought back into the system. In respect of security, we're working very close with the rail safety rapid rail unit, as well as our own security and the contract security. And if you saw on the train this morning, that sort of working together and collaboration is working quite well. And we're dealing with all aspects of crime, particularly vandalism, the attack on the assets, and we've made quite a number of arrests in that regard, and we have got the General Fikile here with us today as well. We meet on a daily basis to also look at crime within the rail reserve. So I think, on the security part, we've also got a good plan and strategy in place currently with all the other law enforcement role players as well.
New trains.
New trains. We currently have 12 new trains in the system. We're currently busy with what we call commercial off-peak services. We're busy collating the data out of that. We'll be making a submission by the end of this week to the regulator so that we can get full service, commercial service operating license, and I'm glad to see the regulator here as well. We obviously continue with those discussions with their team, and we hopefully by mid-year we should be having 16 new train sets which will be rolling out then as part of those services in the Western Cape.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Another, who else raised the
It was.
Good morning, Nathan from Daily Maverick. 3 questions. The first one, can we get the latest on the central line, the relocation aspect of it? Number 2, I see Western Cape here as a national, as the city of Cape Town. What kind of formal agreements are there for collaboration? For example, the rail enforcement unit that was, is there something similar happening? And last week I took a train to Simonstown with the New People's trains. A lot of the people that were on the train had happy faces, they were taking pictures, they were essentially proud of what was going on. What community projects are you doing to get people on board with this new train?
You will decide between your GCO and yourself who answer. Take Western Cape, because these are operational questions.
Mr. Richard Walker.
I think maybe we'll ask Kaparu to deal with the issue of central line, the relocation. If Kaparu can maybe just answer and respond on that one.
Again, good afternoon. It's still good morning. I think you will recall that the issues around central line hinges very much on the relocation. The relocation, which is at the Langa station, just outside Langa station in Philippi, and 2 portions in Khayelitsha. So obviously, the issue of land becomes central to the relocation program. Now, what we have what we call intergovernmental implementation protocol between different government departments. The City of Cape Town became a signatory to that. The Western Cape Provincial Government, Department of Public Works, PRASA, HDA, Department of Human Settlement, because we are dealing with a human settlement problem that has become a rail problem. That's what we're trying to resolve with this situation. So the implementation protocol is now in circulation, has been signed by Department of Transport, has been signed by Department of Human Settlement, is in circulation it's at the Department of Public Works, and in circulation to be signed by everyone who is part of coordination to resolve the central line issues. So from that relationship, we've got 2 portions of state land that is being allocated for the relocation program in the central line. This is 22 hectares of land that is in the Esther River area. Now you'll know that immediately when we receive these 2 land parcels, we'll have gone to court to be able to get the court order for the purpose of relocation itself. We got the court order. We were supposed to have relocated by the 26th of November, the year that just passed. However, in the process, we received some challenges from the receiving community, and then we needed to engage them further because they didn't want to see the relocation in the format that we wanted to bring into the area that I'm referring to. So that process of consultation has taken place with us. We went back to court and asked for extension of court because the court gave us extension until the end of the 26th of July to relocate the Langa settlement and then be able to run the trains in that section of land. So what we're currently doing, while we're dealing with resolving the state land issues, which we now have, we're also resolving an alternative Plan B solution for the land in the central line, which now engaging whoever owns the land, because we're under tremendous pressure to resolve the central line issues. So we are finalizing negotiations which two private landowners through Women's Settlement and Housing HDA, which is our Housing Development Agency, to deal with this parallel process so that we can resolve the relocation central line. So we expect that by the end of February, we'll have resolved the land issues in the central line, and then we can be able to communicate further, Minister, what happened beyond that. That's where we really are with the central line relocation. Thank you.
What else did you ask? Private collaboration.
And pride on the trade.
I think first of all on the issue of collaboration, the working with the other spheres of government, it's regulated. We've got a quite rigid arrangement with the city of Cape Town as well as with the province in respect of the NLTA. That is ongoing, and out of that we've got a number of joint projects that we've already implemented. And going back to the issue of REU, we've already tabled that in discussions with the city as well as province to see how we can look at reviving that, given the successes we had with the Rail Enforcement Unit program that we implemented. There's a number of other initiatives we're also looking at. We went out with Rob Quintus last week. We're looking at the dune rehabilitation, which we started, in principle discussing how they can assist us at Glencairn. So I think we've got quite a structured arrangement with local government. If we look at the distribution of our network, how geographically dispersed it is, and amongst communities, I think we've realized that we can't, the protection of our assets is community involvement becomes an integral part, and therefore we even launched last year and piloted the PR2P, which is now under review. And given the successes out of that, we would look at how do we strengthen and implement that. We also have now engaging, and we're continuing to increase that database. And I can say for the Western Cape, our team has just also engaged the community of Brackenfell. We're going to get into an exciting project with them on protecting our stations, as well as in the Goodwood Parow area as well. So I think we've got quite a good relationship with the communities. It can never be enough, and we need to increase and improve on that social compact that we have with communities. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Walker. Ladies and gentlemen, we have now come to the end of the session. I'm going to now call on Minister to come and give closing remarks.
Give them their fighting.
Okay. Can I have the microphone? I've got the lady at the front and the gentleman over there. So we've got now, Minister's got now 4 more questions.
It's okay, give them. Okay. I don't want to be blamed. They've respected us. They were with us since this morning, so give them a chance.
Thank you, Minister. Please state your name, surname, and your media organization you're from.
Minister Atula Joga from SABC News. Most people believe the roads are the freight that is using the roads because there's too much pressure on the roads. So they believe some of the freight and some of the goods need to come back to be transported via the rails. What is your...
Minister Fikile Mbalula in Cape Town with PRASA talking about the repositioning of commuter trains in the country in efforts to help the country's economy grow. Let's take a break.